So good afternoon. My name is Sandy Miswitz. I'm the Executive Director of the Capital Region Transportation Council. Today, we are here to present and provide a workshop on our draft 2026-2027 Unified Planning Work Program. So just a little bit about who we are. The Capital Region Transportation Council is the metropolitan planning organization for the four-county area that encompasses Albany, Rensselaer, Saratoga, and Schenectady. There's a small piece of Saratoga County that's actually in a neighboring MPO, and that's the town of Moreau in the Adirondack Glens Falls MPO area. But what do MPOs do? We develop transportation policy and provide planning support to enact those policies. We allocate federal transportation funds to plans, projects, and programs in the region, things that are consistent with our regional transportation plan. The structure of an NPO, we have a policy board that is our decision-making body. It's comprised of our 8 cities, 4 counties. Each county has 2 members. We have 2 towns and villages that rotate on an annual basis. We also have the town of Colony as a permanent member as a virtue of its size. Plus, we have our regional and state partners, including CDTA, the New York State Department of Transportation, the Capital Regional Planning Commission, and then the Thruway Authority, the Albany Airport, and the Port Authority. So all of these entities are represented on our policy board. They have technical counterparts that participate on our planning committee. Our planning committee is where a lot of the day-to-day technical work gets done at our MPO. And concepts and concepts and planning project ideas and recommendations are sent from the planning committee to the policy board for approval. We also have advisory committees that are open to the public. We have 4 current advisory committees for active transportation, freight, safety and regional operations, as well as human services transportation. So we encourage folks, if they'd like to get more involved in our work, the advisory committees are a great way to do that. That information feeds to our planning committee, and our staff feeds all of this. We have a staff of currently at 11, and we have public involvement all throughout the transportation planning process. So some of the key functions of the MPO, we have under federal law a few requirements, one of which is to develop what we call a metropolitan or regional transportation plan. We just adopted our new plan called In Motion, the Plan of 2050, back in September. And what these plans do, it is that they establish investment policies and principles that guide the decision-making of the MPO. And we look out, because these are long-range plans, for a period of no less than 20 years to work toward, and we update the plans every 5 years. So as a policy document, that is our primary tool. In addition to that, we have our TIP, which is the Transportation Improvement Program. This is the document that identifies how capital projects are funded and what capital projects are funded in the region using federal funds. It's a 5-year plan of projects updated every 3 years. And it was just recently approved for the 2025-2030 timeframe. So we're going to be we're in the first year of the new TIP right now. And then the thing we're here to talk about today, our third major requirement, is the Unified Planning Work Program. It's a 1-year plan that contains all Transportation Council planning activities and budgets. The draft plan is what we're here to talk about today. The one that's in action right now is the 2025-2026 UPWP. And this covers the fiscal year April 1st through March 31st on an annual basis. So what is in the UPWP? What is it exactly? So again, it describes all of the projects and work products that will be undertaking in the upcoming fiscal year that begins April 1st. It identifies who's going to perform the work, whether it's our staff, a consultant, a member agency, talks about the timeframes of those plans and initiatives, how much they are going to cost, and describes how they're going to be funded and what fund sources are being used. This is a federally required document. But in addition to listing the federally required plans, we also list other types of activities that are being undertaken with other federal, state, regional, and local funds. The development process for the UPWP begins in October, where we issued a call for local planning study ideas. That was released October 3rd, with applications due on December 5th. Projects were evaluated in the December, January timeframe, and some recommendations were provided to our planning committee at its February 4th meeting of this year, um, which is where we're at now. We've opened this plan and as well as these project proposals for public review. Following this month of public review, we'll review the public comments we received, make edits to the draft UPWP as appropriate, and then bring a final document to the policy board to approve at its March 5th meeting. So some of the funding resources, our major sources of funding come from federal sources. The Federal Highway Administration has a set aside of metropolitan planning funds, which are a formula-based program based on population. That's a major component of our budget. 2.5% of those funds are set aside for what we call safe streets or complete streets type projects. So that's the second resource. And our third major resource is from the Federal Transit Administration, which also has Metropolitan Planning Program funds set aside based on a formula that's based off of population as well. As you can see in the table, the estimates for 26, 27 are pretty flat as compared to the prior year, really only a minor adjustment, maybe less than $50,000. So we didn't see a big change in our budget for this year, and given inflation and other costs, in truth, it's relatively flat, if not a little bit of a decline in the resources available to us. When you're reviewing the draft UPWP, and the document is available on our website at capitalnpo.org/UPWP. This slide is a little snapshot into the information that you see for each project listing. You'll see the task number and the name of the project or planning activity, what its goal is. Then it describes the activities and the products of that initiative. There may be consultant work as part of some of these activities, or maybe staff work. So that's the work performed by. Again, those timelines. And then there's a budget estimate table for each line item in the UPWP. All of those budget tables roll up into larger financial tables. Our estimated resources for this year, in addition to those major ones I shared on the prior slide, it rolls up to about $4.8 million. We're very fortunate to have about $1 million worth of funding from our transportation improvement program, which is going into the UPWP this year, which is offsetting some of the losses we saw on those formula funds, but more importantly, it will allow us to do some major regional planning initiatives, which I'll speak about today. But if you wanted to see the details of the sources of funding, you can go to the financial tables in the UPWP document itself. So what's in the UPW? What are we actually proposing? So to begin with, we have, as I said at the beginning, adopted our new regional transportation plan in motion with the goals of safety, mobility, access, livability, and resilience. We plan on putting a lot of resources this year into beginning the implementation of that plan. Along with that is a complementary plan focused on safety called the Vision Zero Safety Action Plan for the Capital Region. For that plan, we really hope in this year to identify uses for some capital funds we have access to through our transportation improvement program for low cost and quick build projects based on the priorities identified in the Vision Zero plan. So we want to identify the uses of this $2 million set aside we have, with an emphasis on decreasing intersection, roadway departure, and pedestrian and bicycle related crashes, because those three subject areas were the most commonly themed ones in our crash data analysis. We also plan on preparing an RFP, or a request for proposals, to conduct safety investigations on local roadways. We're hoping to target 10 corridors or 10 locations based again on the priorities identified in the Vision Zero Safety Action Plan. And we're hoping to launch that later this year. In terms of specific strategic plans for our region, three specific new plans have been identified in local government jurisdictions. The first is the Aiken Avenue Area Linkage Study in the city of Rensselaer. This area of the city is sort of isolated from the rest of the city because the city is bisected by the rail line that serves the Amtrak rail station. So we want to identify safe multimodal transportation options for residents that live on the one side of the tracks to get to the other side of the tracks in the downtown locations. The second study we're proposing is the County Route 79 corridor study in the town of Stillwater. This is an area that has yet to be developed, and this is an opportunity because it's an area that's facing some development pressure. And it's a good time to get ahead. So when we think about being proactive with our planning, this is an opportunity to do that. We're hoping that this plan will be able to address some safety, some multimodal access, and that evolving land use picture in this area, which stretches from the village of Stillwater out to the Saratoga Lake area in Saratoga County. The third initiative we plan on pursuing this year, ADA, or the Americans with Disabilities Act. It's a self-analysis and transition plan where the community does an inventory of their sidewalk conditions and curb ramps, and identifies sort of a replacement plan over time to transition the infrastructure. And we're planning on doing this for the village of Scotia. In terms of larger regional initiatives, our biggest investment this year is a $1 million investment in a household travel survey. We have not done a household travel survey since the 1980s, and this is a foundational piece of information and data for us in terms of updating our regional travel demand model and doing other kinds of regional planning. And in a post-COVID environment, this survey is more important than ever so that we can gain some local data and have some local understanding of how people are moving around the region. This actual live data set will be supplemented in the future by what we call big data sets or sort of aggregated data, whether that's from cell phone data or other resources, to be able to roll up and have a pretty good understanding of how people are moving around the region. In addition to that, we're undertaking what we're calling a superloads corridor plan. This plan is for the movement of oversized and overweight freight vehicles in the region. We have a lot of manufacturers now who are building very heavy, very long, and very big items that are getting harder and harder to move on our transportation system, which has size limitations. Bridges sometimes have weight limitations. So the routes are getting increasingly longer and complicated for a lot of these trucks to navigate, and are not even allowed on some roads like the New York State Thruway. So we need to develop a plan for what corridors we're going to prioritize for the movement of these goods, and how we're going to make sure the infrastructure is maintained in a state of good repair, so that these goods can be moved from the manufacturer to locations like the Port of Albany or to the broader interstate system to reach the rest of the country, if not even the world. We're also going to be undertaking a resilience improvement plan for transportation infrastructure. We're hoping to assess the condition of our various pieces of infrastructure and some of the impacts that flooding, extreme weather, heat may be having on their integrity, and be able to identify and prioritize some capital projects and maybe even some other strategies to make them more resilient. Um, and that will be something we're launching this year as well. Some additional items, we're beginning to plan for a regional active transportation or a complete streets network. Much like the interstate system or the national highway system of old, what we're thinking is this would be a complementary network for active transportation in the region. We have lots of trails and lots of bike lanes and pieces of the network in isolation, but we want to make sure things are interconnected so it truly becomes a system that we can maintain and utilize over time as a transportation resource. The next item, we're planning on hosting a transportation and housing workshop. There's been a lot of conversation in the capital region about housing, whether it's in terms of affordability, location of housing, the type of housing available, particularly for seniors. and younger people, workforce housing. So there's a whole range of things that we're discussing in the region regarding housing. So what we're hoping to do with this workshop is brainstorm and come up with some ideas on how to plan for housing supply in areas that actually have the transportation options we need. Too often we see housing going in places where you can only access the transportation system if you have a car. And how do we better plan for these two things together? So that's the spirit of that workshop, which we're hoping to host later this year. Another workshop we're hosting is what we're calling the Tools of the Trade workshop. And this is specific to human services transportation providers. These are the folks that provide transportation to those with disabilities, lower income folks, seniors, people with certain needs. And what we're hoping to do is talk about how we can better coordinate some of these services, learn from each other in terms of how to provide better services, and talk about some of the trials and tribulations really of providing transportation to this uh, group of our this population group in our region. And we're hoping to hold this workshop in the late spring, early summer. Some other things that are more ongoing that we're continuing to do for the Capital Region, we have a monthly newsletter. We encourage you to sign up to stay apprised of current happenings in the transportation arena. Again, I mentioned those advisory committees. I encourage you to consider getting on the contact list for one of the advisory committees to be able to provide direct input. And some other initiatives, environmental mitigation is our catch-all for things that we'll be doing to support New York State's initiatives related to climate, to alternative fuel vehicle transition, to wetlands and stormwater management, wetlands protection, environmental protection, clean air, clean water. So we'll be integrating a lot of planning and work into the environmental mitigation category. We also offer communities a wide range of technical assistance for planning on a small scale that we can do with staff in-house. We're going to continue to offer that program. We also offer communities a lot of opportunities for data collection, particularly for traffic counts, bicycle and pedestrian counts, user counts, and probably will be expanding the types of services we offer in that program. We are also going to be developing what we're calling a performance data dashboard to measure our success. We have different metrics that we kind of track over time, and we're hoping to make a public-facing dashboard so that folks can go to see how are we doing with reducing severe crashes? How are we doing on congestion? How are we doing on bridge condition and pavement condition? So that's a project we intend to work on to make some public-facing information available. A lot of our work, we're at a point that things have been installed now long enough that we can start doing some before and after studies. So we hope to embark on some before and after studies for complete streets projects, as well as safety projects and other types of projects in the region, to show not only the transportation benefits, but perhaps other types of benefits as well. There may be economic benefits, there may be public health benefits, there may be other types of unquantifiable benefits that we hope to document as part of the before and after studies. And then we're going to continue our work partnering with CDTA on transit planning and transportation demand management initiatives, where the TDM side, the transportation demand management side, really speaks to how do we encourage people to try other types of transportation than just their car on a day-to-day basis. So what incentive programs can we create? What opportunities are there to further encourage folks to use transit, to use the bike share program, to use the car share program, to use other forms of transportation, simply to walk, simply to bike. So we'll be spending some resources on that, as well as supporting, again, CDTA's transit planning work. So that's a very high level overview of what's in the UPWP. There's a lot more in there than I went over today. We are seeking public comments. They are due by March 3rd. There's a few ways you can provide comments aside from participating today live. For those that may be viewing this recording later on, we do have a survey available on our website. We encourage you to take the survey. We actually have an open house scheduled for February 12th at our office between 4 and 6 p.m. Everyone is welcome to attend. You can email comments to info@capitalmpo.org. You can also call us. You can even fax us. You can even write us a letter if that's your preference. There's lots of ways to submit your ideas and your thoughts, and we encourage folks to do that again by March 3rd. So with that, I will stop here and open the floor to any questions or comments or feedback, anything that the participants would like to share today. So I will open the floor to any questions.
Thank you, Sandy. It looks like nothing so far, but let's give him a moment here.
Okay. Okay, I see Dave Bork. I'll allow you to talk if you would prefer.
On mute. Can you hear me?
We can, yes, go ahead.
Could you elaborate a little bit more, something you just briefly spoke about a moment ago about providing technical assistance for small organizations?
Yeah, so our technical assistance program is open to municipalities. We offer a range of services. It could be field visits where we go out if there's a problem spot and folks want some more information, we can gather data in the field. We can even do some feasibility trail planning and kind of look at maps and see, where there might be some opportunities to build some trails. There's a wide range of services we offer. I can share with you a link to our website that has the kind of the complete list of technical assistance offerings.
Um, I'm with the small group, a nonprofit, Historic Altamont, and we
Okay.
just finished a 2-year plan, the Altamont Trails Master Plan for the Altamont area with 8 recommendations for our area. And we're in the process of now trying to promote it and implement some of its recommendations. We're not a municipality. Is there any help available for us with that kind of outreach?
Yeah, and actually, we have a good relationship with the Village of Altamont, so I'm sure that there's a way we can coordinate. If you want to follow up with me after the event, we would be happy to talk.
Are you going to be at the open house?
Yes,
I'll meet you there.
sounds great.
Perfect. Thanks.
Any other questions today? Okay, well, hearing none, I will just wrap up by saying
Oh,
again,
Sandy, sorry, really quick.
yes.
One just popped into the Q&A as you were
Oh,
saying that. Just from Robert Clifford in quote, is the Capital District Trails Plan under your purview?
Yes, it is. And thank you for mentioning that because when I mentioned about the active transportation plan, sort of beginning that development of an active transportation network, it's going to build upon the trails plan, which we're also looking for feedback on because the trails plan dates to 2019. Some of those trails have been built already. Some may have faced other changes, so we are looking to update that as well.
All right. Looks like that was, oh yeah, Robert says thank you. So thank you.
Great. All right. Well, once again, you can see that there's multiple ways to submit your comments by March 3rd. If we don't have any other comments today, thank you very much for your time today. All of this information is available again on our website at www.capitalmpo.org/UPWP. Thank you for your time today and have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everybody.